Hello again, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the new articles that we have to offer this year and give you an overview of our product range. I'm Fiona Napier, I'm Edmund Bell's International Sales Director.
And I'm Stephen Dobson, and I'm the Head of Contract in the UK for Edmund Bell. Thank you for joining us. What we're going to do today is give you an overview as best we can in 45 minutes of our range, and look at some new products that are coming in the next few months. But I think we're going to start with giving you a little bit of a background of who are Edmund Bell, I guess.
Just administrative issue first. If you're on a computer or laptop, you may find it useful to click Gallery View in the top right-hand corner of your screen. That will change the way that you're seeing the presentation and us. And then the other thing to mention is we can do some Q&A, some questions, but we can't do them live. So if you do have any questions, add them in the chat and we'll try to answer them at the end. Or if we don't get to them, then we'll be emailing you back afterwards.
Absolutely.
So the history of Edmund Bell, Stephen.
Okay, so Edmund Bell, who are we? Edmund Bell actually was established in 1855 and initially started producing apparel fabric, so literally suit liners for the inside of men's suits. And towards the latter half of the century, the business quickly established a reputation for quality and service in soft furnishing industry. And believe it or not, we began selling blackout fabrics during the Blitz.
Yeah, so World War II, there was obviously suddenly a large requirement here in the UK for blackout fabrics. We still have the original blackout. We sell it in our workroom binder, for example. You will find Bolt and Twill. It's a heavy cotton. What we sell nowadays is considerably more technical, and I think we'll take you through some of the technicality of that product within this presentation today.
Yep, and we're going to not only give you an overview of where we are today, but obviously have a brief look at where we've come from. And I think in 2008, the business was bought by the Atherton family, who already had a wealth of knowledge within the textile industry, specifically around manufacturing, and brought that into Edmund Bell and created the vision to kind of build this to where we are today with this new collateral and 5 binders full of decorative fabrics.
Yeah. So we're actually part of a much larger group. Edmund Bell is kind of lucky to be part of a large furnishings group with 4 different partners: B2B, B2C, manufacturing, distribution, and the like. We sell to over 55 countries in a normal year. We sell millions, literally millions of meters per annum. So hopefully you have quite a reliable long-term partner in us.
Yeah, when you see 15 million meters of fabric per annum, that's a lot of fabric.
Crazy stuff.
A lot of fabric.
Yeah. I've had thoughts previously when we've done large single projects. You know, if you laid out the length of fabric used for a given cruise ship or hotel, you know, you could get from my town to, you know, the middle of the boat, the Scottish borders, right? I think crazy.
We have a stat somewhere that 15 million meters or something would go out so many times around the world or something.
Yeah, we should definitely work that one out.
It might take us a little while. But what we'll touch on as well is our own UK manufacturing capabilities, especially in terms of our decorative blackout and our commodity products, and our upholstery as well, and how that kind of influences how we can become a better partner for you, I guess.
So, as you can see here, we have now a large range of binders. We started off with a considerably more humble selection. We had the old red and blue binder, which was full of the linings collections, essentially, flame retardant and non-flame retardant. And then the black binder that was really everything for contract. And as you can see, it started to get rather overfull.
It did.
It was nice for business trips because you only had 2 binders to carry.
Yeah, the extra suitcase. That's good. But I think you can see the reason for this extra binders from 2 to 5 is quite a big jump, and I think it's taken us a good few years to get there. But I think from your perspective, it kind of just splits out the types of product and their uses and makes it easier for you to manage and reference and use. But ultimately gives us more space so we can keep adding more product for it.
And the idea being, you know, you probably think of Edmund Bell because of some key selling points around us. The fact that we keep stock, the fact that our prices are reasonable, the UK manufacture element, you know, certification, washability, all these things that we mentioned actually in our first session yesterday.
Yeah.
So we want to basically make sure that you can apply those to fabrics for any part of your project, whether it's top of bed, whether it's curtains, whether it is upholstery, you know, any kind of soft furnishing setting.
That's right. I think everything on a control book now is where we're looking at. Whether you're specifying a project or whether you're manufacturing a project or even value engineering a project, we'll have options for every type of fabric use within that room.
And every type of customer, every type of sector is what we're trying to help with.
Yeah, and if any of you were lucky enough to listen to the panel that we had yesterday, where we spoke to 2 designers, both from completely different market sectors, one quite heavily involved in food and beverage and hospitality, and one involved in mental health and healthcare. And I think what we found yesterday was that overlap is really common, and now
growing.
What businesses like us need to be doing is providing a product that fits all those market sectors within the same quality, which is not an easy task, but
we're up to it.
We're getting there.
So let's start going through these binders one by one, just giving you a quick overview before we tell you what's new in each of them. So number 1 binder is workroom, and as the name might suggest, this is all about actually making your curtains or blinds. So the binder includes the first section really on non-flame retardant, so domestic linings.
Yeah, so we've got a huge range within this of non-FR and FR curtain linings, and I think any of you that manufacture, and even specification now, where you're looking to complete that final finished look of a curtain, your lining is really, really important. And when we touched on at the beginning where we've come from as a business and where we're going, yes, all the decorative stuff is great, it's all needed, it's all commercial. But ultimately, the bread and butter of this business is the aesthetic look and the finish of a luxury product, which is what a curtain is. And within this binder, you'll find all of those options.
So you line a curtain to protect it from the sun, to give it greater, I guess, weight and drape. There's any number of reasons why you might line it. This binder includes not just linings, but also blackout linings as well. So it's all about function, this binder, and it's the only binder amongst all 5 that includes both non-flame retardant, domestic or retail, and also contract flame retardant articles. They're clearly marked with a flame logo, so you can see.
Yeah. Not just your linings are in there, you've got a whole range of interlinings as well. So if you're in a colder country or somewhere where you need that extra thermal properties, then you have various different interlinings to cover your needs, whether it's a synthetic product or whether it's 100% cotton or a natural product, and we've got those available for you. And interlinings not just used for keeping the heat in and the cold out, but they're actually used to fill out. So if you're using lightweight fabrics, and that's quite common, where you're using natural linens or something in terms of your face.
High-end like silk that you want to give more body
exactly,
to.
and you want to give that curtain more body and give it that more luxurious feel than an interlining is what you use.
Just for interest, I've just found the card that includes the bolt and twill. This is the original blackout. So this is in the FR linings 1.2 card, cotton and polyester. And as you can see, it's the kind of fabric that's used in theatre stages. Yeah. So yeah, that was what they had to save them from the bombings in World War II.
It's strange, you might be wondering why we still have that as a product. Who possibly now with technology and all these beautiful blackouts, why would you use it? But actually it's used quite often in manufacturing of Roman blinds because it gives you that blackout, but also allows you to have that ease of manufacture. And with a Roman blind, for example, you need that fold for it to fold nicely together. So a bolt and twill in the center will allow that and give you the blackout properties.
So should we move on to binder 2?
We should. Surprised how much we can talk about.
We can really go on, can't we? Yeah. We've got to try and rein ourselves in.
So binder number 2 is basically what we're best known for around the world, I think.
Yeah.
I think we sell more commodity blackouts and decorative blackouts, dim outs and shears than anything else.
So that's a distinction worth drawing out, isn't it? What we class as commodity or lining blackouts and decorative blackouts. It's a completely subjective distinction, isn't it?
It is.
Essentially, you could line or you could use as a standalone face fabric any of our blackouts. The reason why we include certain ones in the workroom binder as commodities, so as linings, is purely that they're basic colours, and because we produce so much of those colours, we can keep the prices really, really low. But they're absolutely fine as standalone. This particular binder, Light Control, it seeks to address basically blackout, dim out, and shear properties, and those each have a separate segment within the binder.
Yeah, and first up is our decorative blackout range, and although we're taking you through these binders today, I think it's cool to point out that this is great from a reference point of view, but if you need something for mood boards or for something that you want to show your clients, sampling, hangers, however you present to your clients, then we've got an abundance of sampling outside of this. But the purpose of today is to give you that overview. And within this binder, you've got, first of all, your blackouts. So you've got your card, which gives you your feeler, as well as all your thumbnails in terms of the color choices, all your product codes, color codes.
You've always got a room shot as well for context. Absolutely. And then the reverse of the card, or the reverse of the hanger, whatever it is that you have for sampling, will give you further information about the coding, the widths available, the flame retardant standards that it meets, also things like dimensional stability, all these extra technical stats that may be important to you.
Yeah, it's all the important things. If you've been fortunate enough to go through any of our other sessions over the last 24 hours, where we've gone into a little bit more detail around these technicalities, things like blackouts, you've got your stain resistant finishes, it's 100% blackout, they can be washed at certain temperatures, and they've got thermal properties and all the FR standards, whether you're European, whether you're working in marine, whether you're in America, all of these FR standards are covered for.
Yeah, that's the beauty. Again, we've ticked all the kind of practical boxes for you. So it is stocked, it is washable and or dry cleanable, it is flame retardant certificated, and all the rest. Another thing that's really important to note is, especially in the decorative blackouts, UK origin, as we mentioned, just down the road from us literally is our finishing mill, PWGF, and they finish these goods for us. Now, yesterday we actually did a session all about the manufacturing processes that go on at that plant. So that will be recorded and it will be put up on our multimedia hub, fabric-hub.com. And I think that's definitely worth taking a look at.
I think if you missed that, you definitely should have a watch,
yep.
Especially if decorative blackouts are your thing, because it's good to understand why that UK origin is important. It's not just because it comes from the UK, it's because we have control over the quality control of making these blackouts. And I learned something new yesterday. I didn't even realise that our blackouts were baked in ovens before they finished. That will definitely stick with me.
That's a turn of phrase I'm not going to get rid of, is it? Nope. So the next section of this binder, dim outs, is also a really key aspect of our sales. Like in the blackout segment, our focus is really on planes and textures, planes and semi-planes. We will talk later on about design-led articles, but yeah, dim outs are interesting because they are uncoated articles, but they're still technical articles. They aren't simply heavy fabrics. There are certain suppliers out there who will designate as dim out just a thick fabric. Ours are not just thick, they're 3-layer. They've got a front, a reverse, and a middle layer that's black, meaning that even in a light color, they're going to block more light than they would if they were simply, a solid color throughout.
And the main difference between a dim out and a blackout is probably about 2 to 3% in terms of light control.
Yeah.
They're not far off, but they're not 100%. And I think, the reason why we have the workroom binder that we showed you earlier is that we've got complementing blackout linings that you would require to make it 100% if you wanted it to be. So if you're lining it, then a dim out.
So the reasons that you would choose a dim out over a blackout is it's easier to attain certain kinds of certification without the coating, is at the moment anyway. So for instance, all of these dim outs have Ecotex 100 chemical certification. They have acoustic absorbency. We are starting to pull that in the decorative blackouts, but certainly all the dim outs have it.
Yep.
They can be washed at high temperatures because they again are uncoated. And it's, certain markets that just prefer a dim out for the fabric feel of it, I guess.
Sometimes it can be a bit of a softer drape, a dim out, and generally not as stiff as a blackout.
Although I dispute that part nowadays.
It's changing, yeah, as we'll show you when we get to sensation. But I think in terms of dim out, we talk about high temperatures, why that's important. I think we test these dim outs up to 71 degrees, and that's an important number because that's the temperature you need to hit for thermal disinfection.
In fact, on the back of your card, you may want to just bear in mind, the bottom always gives the kind of classic cleaning instructions. So if you were just normally washing a dim out, you might do it at 30 or 40 degrees, depending on what it says here. Elsewhere on the card, it will tell you if you can wash it at 71+ degrees for thermal disinfection.
Yeah, the one thing you will notice is that when we talk about dimensional stability on the back of those pattern cards, you'll have a dimensional stability figure for those care instructions at that 40 degrees, but we'll also show you how that dimensional stability changes, if it changes, at 71 degrees.
Yeah. Final section, and certainly not least, I think, is sheer. I am going to show you this actually in the book. So we do have cards here, but I'm going to show you the sheer Bible, if you like. We don't do many pattern books nowadays. We tend to stick to hangers, memo samples, and binders. But this particular book is a really good one.
Yeah, I think, again, just kind of reinforcing that these binders are great for reference points in your libraries. But in terms of actually seeing the fabric in its true light, especially the shears, I think this pattern book is far, far better. So if you haven't got one of these, you need one. Request
one, definitely. This is one of my favourite samples of ours. So we might just want to touch on the whole question of inherent versus normal flame retardant. Yeah. So this is another thing, a little bit like dim out, blackout, that there's a little bit of obscurity over, I would say. So inherently flame retardant suggests that the article is in itself flame retardant, that the yarns will, I guess, melt away from a flame without the need to have applied any additional chemicals to make it flame retardant. And that's a good thing, because it means that you can wash the goods without them becoming less flame retardant and therefore not certificated. And also, you know, as we know nowadays, we're all have an aversion to additional chemicals. So why be applying more chemicals? So all of these articles, all of our non-coated articles are inherently flame retardant, including the shears here. They're all on 300 centimeters. There are some of them that already have lead, well, not lead weight, in fact zinc weight, but weight bands underneath as well. And this book includes some really decorative things, from meshes, through crepe structure, through linen look structures, even with stripes sometimes. And we've really paid a bit more attention to colouring shears in the recent years. So it's not just white and ivory, it's light and warm and cool grey tones, taupes.
Yeah, and then there's something for everybody within this, whether it's a front of house, whether it's a guest room, whether if it's a healthcare environment and you're trying to make somebody's room look like a home and give that warm feel, then you've got that within this book. At the same time, towards the back, as Fiona's just got to, you've got what we class as commodity boils, but in the end they are shears. They're just your standard plain and slub options, which
unbeatably priced,
we sell
and do everything technically that you would need. And we keep massive stocks as another big benefit.
We do.
So let's move on swiftly to the next binder, which is binder number 3, print.
So print, I think there's two different parts to this. We have got a session later on today where we go into more detail about our Printlab service, and we'll explain a little bit more about that as we go through this binder. The one thing to really note is that our base cloths are, I would say, unrivaled in terms of the marketplace.
We have a really big selection of flame retardant base cloths, stocked base cloths, certificated base cloths, and with double width and single width options that span every kind of usage. So you have shears, you have blackout, both untextured and textured, dim out, again, untextured and textured. You have single drapes, you have upholstery. You've really got something for every setting, even a bedding weight.
Yeah.
So essentially the idea is you can choose any of the designs we have, and indeed have any design made for you and printed on any of these bases. So the existing ranges that we do have.
Yeah, it's really that simple. I think it's quite hard.
I just summed that up, didn't I?
It's just literally
no
that
need to
simple.
talk about that anymore.
So the second part of what I was getting to is that we do carry a lot of collections as well, where our designers have put together dominant designs and mixed in textures, geometric designs, upholstery fabrics within it. We've done that for you in terms of telling a story, and sometimes that helps because if you're choosing coordinating colours for the accents within the room, whether that's matching some cushions to the curtains, or whether that's matching a runner to the curtains, you've got those options within these collections, and these are all available literally from stock, generally on a 7 to 10 day turnaround. Our bespoke option is slightly different, where it's literally anything is possible.
Anything, yeah.
Just a slightly longer lead time.
So
the
next session actually at
9:30
GMT is all about Printlab, which is our custom printing process. So that session is going to be with Demi, our print designer, and she's going to explain all the intricacies, all the intricacies, but from your perspective, the simplicity of that process and just exactly what you can do with it.
Sweet.
So binder number 4 is weave.
Yes, so our woven jacquards, plain and textured weave, you know, they are probably something that I would suggest a couple of years ago was outside of our comfort zone a little bit. Maybe not ideal from a hierarchy's point of view, and from a commercial aspect, they're not plain textures that sell tens of thousands of meters.
Exactly, we've had the luxury of keeping relatively few SKUs because we manufacture them, because we keep big stocks. That's been our kind of our modus operandi and what we're known for. But it's important, as we mentioned at the start, that you have access to goods that will fit in any part of the project and any kind of project that meet all of the technical requirements that your customers have. And that's what this is all about, isn't it?
It is, and within this binder you've got a prism range, you've got a sanctuary range, which again we're an evolving woven collections. So prism was very much a lot of different textures, a lot of different weaves, different colours, all kind of put in one big pattern book. From there we developed into sanctuary, where we started to play with big designs, geometric,
Botanicals,
bringing in that upholstery option at the same time. Just to give you those options within the collection. And I think where we've got to is Soho Club, and Soho Club is quite frankly the best selling woven collection we've ever had.
Yeah.
And we're just building from there as well.
A lot of these ranges are multifunctional as well, so you will find some of them include like dedicated upholstery articles, but you'll find as well that there are many unbacked articles here that we can use for drapery, for accessories. We actually do martindale abrasion test some of these because outside of the UK, many times you don't need a backing for an upholstery usage, and they can be used for light upholstery. So on those, we do provide a little segment on the back of the card to explain the suggested application with clear to understand logos.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing to take from this in terms of woven fabrics is, yes, there are drapery options in there. If you prefer a weave to, you know, coming away from a blackout and a dim out, you want something that little bit more luxurious, and then you've got that. But ultimately, these were brought in to give you options for those other functions within the room, whether that's cushions, whether that's headboards, whether that's bed runners, bed bases. This is where this is the binder for you for that respect.
And in fact, so the back of the binder actually is less jacquards and more plains and semi-plains again. Yeah. So single drapes, as we would class them, which you might use for any number of things. Yeah. So yeah, this binder really catches all that isn't, I guess, in the light control binder.
Yep.
Again, inherent.
Yes. So you know, things like equilibrium there that Fiona was referencing, starting to use that more and more often in terms of drapery. It's starting to
got a lovely linen look, hasn't it?
It's a beautiful fabric. It's just a shame it launched at a time where the world kind of changed. So we're hoping that there's a bit better over the coming years.
Okay, so last one, but certainly not least. This is a really exciting part of the range for us. This is upholstery. We had a short upholstery range for the last few years, but it was limited in its scope. It had been developed really, especially for UK contract with Crib 5 only, so it wasn't really aimed at other parts of the world. Still really, really good ranges, but because we only had 5, I wouldn't have taken us necessarily as seriously as an upholstery supplier.
I think our credibility was lacking in that sense, and it wasn't lost on us. And you know, there's quite a big link between our woven collections and how our upholstery started, actually, because we brought those upholsteries in to supplement those woven collections, to give those upholstery options. And although that started to filter into the marketplace over the last couple of years, again, as Fiona said, we still lack that credibility. Just by chance, with our acquisition of PWGF that we talked about the last couple of sessions, it brought an abundance of upholstery fabric to play for us, and the natural byproduct of that for us was that we had a range we could go and test for the contract market. And after considerable amounts of testing, again touching on what Edmund Bell is all about and why we are useful to you, is we do all these tests before we launch a product. So we've done all these tests, we found these fabrics, we've got the martindale abrasion tests, we can make them stain resistant if we need to, waterproof, all of these things that are important to you.
Pre-selected versions that we're going to launch or keep in stock that we think are useful to you, both in terms of tech spec and pricing as well. I don't, unlike last versions of this particular talk that we've done, I don't want to skip ahead too much because we actually are going to talk about the new articles in this binder just shortly.
Yeah.
So maybe we're best coming back to this. What do you think, Stephen?
Yeah. We do talk too much.
Okay, right. Well then, with no further ado, let's talk about the really new stuff.
Okay.
So some of you may already be aware of Sensation Blackout. We're just going to do a quick intro on this anyway, because it's been so long in the making and is such a really revolutionary product in truth. It's one of the best things to come out of PWGF, our finishing mill. It took about 2 years to get to this point, didn't it?
It did, and I think, you know, and again, that tells you a little bit about Edmund Bell in terms of, I wouldn't say we're perfectionists, but we're adamant that we have all the testing in place before we show you these products, or should we say, before we launch these products.
Yeah, we've definitely shown it a little bit.
And I think when Fiona kind of corrected me with in terms of dim out and blackout, she's absolutely right, because I think that stereotype around blackouts being quite rubbery and stiff and, you know, quite institutional and very contract, Sensation kind of blows that out of the water.
It's certainly only right when it doesn't apply to PWGF, because we have some beautifully soft blackouts nowadays. And absolutely washable as well.
Yeah, and the handle of this product, I think, is the reason it took 2 years.
Yes.
You know, because although you've got a velvet product, just by slapping a blackout coating on it doesn't make it a real good product. I think what we wanted was that soft handle, so that you get your velvet experience, which, let's be honest, that's why you buy velvet in the first place.
Yeah.
But also have that functionality around it.
I mean, if you think about it, a velvet is obviously a raised surface. This is a knitted velvet as a substrate. It's a raised surface. If you think about fire test, it's an eminently flammable sort of an article, and to make this European Class 1 standard, you know, British standard, NFPA, all the rest, IMO, also to be washable and to have this soft hand, also not to stretch under its own weight, because the substrate is a very stretchy article, it's a feat.
It is, and as you can see, what I'm holding up here awkwardly, is our colour palette's quite a large colour palette, and thankfully with Sensation, we're starting to see a little bit of a switch in trend, aren't we, in terms of colours, and I think we're starting to, we're out of stock almost instantly of our blushes, citrines, jades.
So we're learning, definitely.
Yeah. So thankfully people are moving away from the grey.
Yeah, so I think we one of the key reasons why you would buy from Edmund Bell is our stocking. In other blackouts, you know, especially recently, silver greys have been by far the best sellers.
Yeah.
Always tertiary neutrals, taupes, these kinds of colours, you know, sell really well. And they will also in Sensation, but really nice to see that because it's a velvet, people love dual colours.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you mentioned, also blush.
Yes.
These tarragon yellows, mustardy yellows, dual greens. It's exciting.
It is. It's a beautiful product, and if you haven't got the hanger yet, why not?
Inquire about it, you will not be disappointed. In fact, just to make a point, there are other blackout suppliers around the world, of course there are. There are almost none in the West anymore. In fact, in the West, if you know, in that definition, we're about it. And ours is a really good quality, and yeah, I think.
Yeah, it'll do well.
So let's talk about our black silk. This is a completely different kind of article. This is an article that started life as a commodity or a lining article, as we explained earlier. So the purpose of this was to have a really nice soft and flame retardant to European Class 1 standard, and also BS, and also NFPA and all the rest. But to have a really simple lining that was soft and really well priced. And it's done that very well. It's been a great article for us.
Yeah, it's been developed from one of our better selling blackout lining products, which has become a bestseller for us. And the clue's in the name, you know, our black silk. So our black is the name that we use for blackout, and silk, obviously, yeah, it's a reference to how soft it is. It's
got a brushed face, which helps it be soft, but it also gives it a really matte optic, doesn't it?
It does.
And what's really happened here is we had white cream and ivory colorways to start with. Then we added in 3 additional colorways that we knew would be really commercial for you. Again, at a slightly increased price from the commodities, but still a very strong price point. And then most recently, we've now added in a whole rake more, so that you now have 14 total colors. Now, you know, we don't have the citrine in the palette here. We've not gone crazy. We've gone for those colors that we know you're going to use the most, because especially this year, especially in hospitality, you're going to be under price pressure.
Yeah, and that's what these are. These are a budget option. So you've got the same type of quality that you would expect from Edmund Bell in terms of its testing, in terms of its longevity and durability. But obviously, if you want something more decorative, you've got those options in your binder. This is purely there to help you with budgets if need be.
Yeah.
And also, there's no reason why you can't use this as a lining as well, because again, that trend of having that black, coming away from the cream and ivory sometimes, and wanting to see a colour when people are looking through the window from the outside, you've got options here too.
So we've added in more greys, more tertiary neutrals, so seal tones, taupe tones, cool greys, warm greys, and then as you can see also teal, a couple of blues and a black colourway. So we think really, really commercial and hopefully helpful for you. Cool. Next up, 3 blackouts. Wow, guys.
You wait for one for 2 years, you get 3 all at the same time.
This is actually, it looks a very simple article, quantum, but it kind of represents a step forward in a couple of particular ways. Amy, can you just show the color palette on the next slide? So this is a linen look blackout. It's crust ice so that it has a little bit more texture in it than a simple plain would. But what's exciting about it is it's still a polyester, but it is 100 times matter looking than anything we could achieve even 5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, and again, just reinforcing that point around sensation, the softness of this fabric. There's no way that, going back 5-10 years, you would have touched the fabric and felt it to be in this soft. Absolutely not. And I think it's just testament to the work that we do at PWGF, and the fact that we can control ourselves means that it's only going to get better from this. So, we're really, really the choice for decorative blackouts at the minute.
I guess the other thing, the other kind of key step forward with quantum is the softness of the handle.
Yeah.
And I actually think we have Sensation to thank again for that.
Yeah.
In developing a coating for the velvet blackout, there was an awful lot of work went into that.
Yeah.
And this has become a much softer, much more, I guess, densely flocked article than any of our textured blackouts before. So again, this is a relatively short colour range, but I think a very commercial one. Lots of tertiary neutrals to help you match into your exact palette, but some kind of key, I guess, fashion colours like ginger, these sky blues. So we think this is going to be interesting for you. It's going to come out in the next couple of months.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think it's not lost on us that we're sat here holding the fabric, telling you how soft it is, and actually, fabrics are a very tactile product, and in terms of catching up with you guys, this is one of the only ways to do it at the minute. But please, when this comes around, if this is of interest to you, let us know as soon as we can, and as soon as it's launched, we'll ensure that we get these fabrics out to you so you can have a feel of them yourself and make your own decision around it. I'm pretty certain you won't be disappointed.
So we said we didn't want to tease you too much on the upholsteries before. Let's talk about them now. So we mentioned at the start we had 5 ranges. We've, in the last year, brought out a further 9. So now we have a really appreciable range of upholsteries. And what's really nice about these new 9, and I think maybe Amy, if you could start scrolling through some of Fabric Hub to show people some close-ups, is, well, firstly, that there's a really good variety of different looks and finishes. You've got Elite, which is tufted. You've got Luster, which is a crushed velvet. You've got a very matte herringbone with catenary yarn in aspen. You have a kind of clean velvet look in elegance. You've got loads of little textures between Meridian and Virtue and Inspire and Eclipse. So lots of different things going on. And also these are available in multiple finishes.
And I think that's a real plus point for us, is we have that flexibility. And again, we keep bouncing back to this UK production. And again, just to reinforce, that's not just because it's produced in the UK, it's because it allows us a little bit control, more flexibility as well. So from one quality, one article, we can create almost 2 or 3 different types of product that have 2 or 3 different types of uses. Yeah. And that, I think, is unrivaled again in the marketplace. And on top of that, again, Edmund Bell is renowned for its colour ranges, albeit a kind of touchy subject when we talk to our production department when we're adding 28 new colours. Yeah. But we're adding, you can see for yourself the colour palettes on these in these designs for upholstery is again unrivaled.
I mean, we're still learning about colours in upholstery. You know, we don't have quite the experience that we would. So if you have suggestions and requests, then definitely let us know for future ranges. We're bringing out a further 3 upholstery collections within this year. So yeah, we're keeping them coming.
Yeah, we are, and I think whether you're looking for, just to get a little bit more technical, but not overly technical, because that's later. But whether you're looking for velvets, you know, our elegance range, which you can see on the screen there now, it's got a similar palette to our sensation, and the handle of it is uniquely similar. We've got Aspen, which has got that wool effect look to it, but again, Aspen, even though it looks so hospitality, it's actually waterproof, it's antimicrobial, it's stain resistant. The Martindale and Weizenbeeks are high. The hydrostatic head test is high.
It's a very technical,
technical product, yeah, and it's difficult to explain that in a short overview. But we'll do that later on today.
Come back to the technical selling session later on with our fabric technologist, and he'll tell you all about it.
Absolutely.
And the other thing to note is the secondary version of these articles is, I guess, probably the less technical version, and it's aimed more at export, so other countries. It is a version that meets British cigarette and match, it meets NFPA 260, it meets European EN 10211+2 and IMO 8. So actually it's a contract, absolutely a contract range. It still has the same rub tests and abrasion tests, and it's stain resist in most cases. And that version has basically been pinned because we can do it at an extremely aggressive price point.
Yep, and all of them are available in the BS5852 to ignition source 5, otherwise known as crib 5, and every single one of them is available in that finish.
So definitely, if you haven't already seen these, we think probably upholstery is the most universal of our ranges. You get seating in every kind of setting and sector. So take a look at our stuff. Oh yeah, so actually I'm sat on the next article.
I'll tell you.
Yeah. So this is, as you can see on screen, Luxor is actually a new upholstery range as well, but this falls within our printing option. So you'll start to see new print base cloth cards come out. You saw me flicking through the print binder earlier and showing you a card with all the different bases, unprinted and printed. Luxor will be added to that in the next couple of weeks. Luxor is a very short pile, very, very soft upholstery velvet. Absolutely lovely, and it's an upholstery velvet that takes dye very, very well, so you get a real depth of colour in it, as you can see.
Yeah, I think that's why we've got that image on the screen for you, and Fiona stood up so you can see the chair. And I think, you know, this for a contract upholstery product is beautiful.
It's
and
lovely. Yeah.
The need for velvets in these sort of contract marketplaces is higher than it's ever been. To be able to print these sorts of designs on it, just brilliant.
We actually would like your guidance on this. Our upholstery binder, as you've seen, it's all about plains and semi-plains like the rest of the range, really. But we want to make designs more available to you. We want to make the custom printing option more accessible and more understandable. So we're going to try to sample this out into the binder, probably with a foliage design actually sampled on a feeler. We'd like to understand from you, how would you like to see design sampled into upholstery, or what designs are most commercial for you, are you using most, especially on velvet? And
I think that's the main struggle we have sometimes with our print base cloths and what we have, the amount of designs we have. If you're familiar with www.fabric-hub.com, and then you'll know there's an inspirational gallery within that with over 200 designs in there. So it's very difficult to understand how do we show those off to you in the best possible
advantage.
Yeah, to give you a true reflection of how nice this fabric is.
So just to talk a little bit more about new base cloths for printing, we've also got 3 new double width base cloths as well. So we mentioned we have all the different kinds of fabrics covered. We also have many that can be printed in double and single width. So we have some new ones now. We have a Panama, and we have also a plain weave single drape, and then we also have our Venus dim out, so a classic dim out in double width available. Very helpful if you're dealing with really tall windows.
And that's a great thing for you guys to remember, is that we've gone through quite a lot of things here today, but remember that on our print side, whether it's Printlab, whether it's collections, We've got drapery, standard width, wide width, upholstery, shears, bedding width. We can print anything on anything, and I think that's the key thing for you to remember.
Come back and see us at 9:30 and we'll talk you through the rest.
Absolutely. Okay.
Stephen, I'm going to hand it over to you.
So last but no means least, as time is ticking away, because we're talking too much, I think. But it's quite important. So we talked about binder number 1, which is our workroom binder. And recently we've launched our salt-proof range of curtain linings. And these linings range from luxury polycotton satins, cotton sateens, to FR linings, as well as coloured linings. And I think if you're familiar with the Salt-Proof brand, it's been around for a long time, and due to our production facility, we were able to kind of use that brand across all our linings, which will give you an indication into the quality of them. So just quickly, you've got a range of FR satins here. So again, even though curtain linings historically have been a non-FR retail product, you don't always need blackout. We've got an abundance of FR blackouts that you can use, as you've already seen. But if it doesn't require blackouts in an area where you want to see some natural light come through, but you still need your privacy, and we've got those options for you in durable and non-durable finishes, depending on what you prefer.
Salt-proof especially, I think, has overtones of really strong colour fastness to light. So for, I guess, the most important thing that a lining can have. Yeah. And it's, as Stephen says, it's been around for a very long time, but the current range represents a consolidation of all of our options to give you a better overview of a range that hits every kind of usage you'd need and every kind of technical selling requirement. Yeah,
and just understand that we've engineered these at PWGF. Again, we keep name dropping it, but it's really important. So we engineer this, we quality control it, we put it out to you with our own stamp on it, with the Salt-Proof brand on it, which should give you reassurance in terms of the quality of that product. And we've also got a huge range of satins for the non-FR version. You can see there's quite a lot of colours in there now as well. So we're moving away from that stereotypical cream and ivory into pale ivories and angoras and mists and linens. So you've got lots of different options available to you.
I'm going to refer back to a session we did yesterday again, so the one where we took you through some of the finishing processes done at our mill, because I think that for linings it's the most impressive of all, because as you know, these are low-priced articles. They go through a plethora of different finishes and processes, and it's really fascinating.
And we manufacture them in ways that suit you, depends on how you work best. You can have them on the old traditional bales, creased and lapped, as you can see on the screen, or we can do them full width on a tube, whichever works best for you. And these come in a variety of finishes. Salt-proof was a prerequisite, crease resistant finishes as well if those are required. And we can even do them with a Teflon finish, which is really cool when it comes to moisture. And if you have got that windows that succumb to some condensation from time to time, and it does happen to get on the curtain, then it will just literally run off rather than seep into the fabric. And to accompany the satins, we've got a range of luxury satins. Again, market has shifted over to polycotton satins in the last probably 3 or 4 years. But even saying that, your 100% cotton satins, natural products are still
very
quite popular. Yeah. And last, by no means least, is our range of coloured lining. So again, we put the Salt-Proof branding and the Salt-Proof finishing on this. These are available non-FR and FR, and you can use these for when you want that coloured lining. So where cream, ivory doesn't cut it, and you want something a little bit different. And that's Salt-Proof.
Not going to put this up on screen because it's too putative, but we do have a number of different jacquards coming out in the next wee while, or within 2021 certainly, that are worth you having a little sneak peek of. This is geometric, as you can see. So this will be coming out at some point within this year with, I think, about up to 10 colorways. Again, I guess a symptom of us trying to give you many different options for seeing your clients, for fulfilling contract requirements in all parts of your project. So we have a quilted article, we have this one coming out, we have another abstract. So absolutely loads of stuff coming out this year. We hope you'll keep up to date with us.
Even during these crazy times that we live in, and things have been difficult for everybody the last 12 months, we're still trying to look ahead to a brighter future and bring you more and more product.
So thank you very much for joining us today. If you do want to find out more, if you want to request samples, you can get in touch with us as you always do by phone or at sales@edmundbell.com.
And our website is always available to you. So www.edmundbell.com for all your standard website, your products and certificates. If you've logged in, you can see your account details. But if you haven't done this already, you need to get onto www.fabric-hub.com
and request access on that.
Request access to that. We'll get you access, and this will be your Edmund Bell Bible for the digital world that we live in.
Thanks very much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.